Recap from Georgia. Obviously, a step forward for us in overall performance and an outcome, and got a shot in the arm. We always, our fans really go a long way to helping us improve in areas, and we get in that environment on our equipment. We're showing that we can improve and make the strides that we're trying to make. We've got to be able to show it on the road though, too, and I think that's kind of the next thing as we keep talking about we climb around here, is that we need to be able to show that we can perform at that level on the road. And I'm not even talking about, look, outside of Florida, nobody's winning on the road. If you look around the country, nobody in this conference is winning on the road. And I don't know if that's indicative of the parity or indicative of the state of our sport in terms of the environment controlling the outcomes a little bit. But I think for us, we continue to show growth. I said the Arkansas meet was kind of a half step forward. It wasn't everything we wanted out of it. I felt like this was a good full step forward for us against Georgia. We did a good job top to bottom. We weren't mistake free by any means, but the performances that we had that did hit did a really good job. And so overall, I felt good about it. We still have people growing into their roles. We have some people that are in single digits in terms of their routine experience on events still, and they're having to go every week. And so, you've still got to allow for that growth to occur. And it's going well. We're not coming off the equipment per se, but we've still got to get a little better in terms of execution and being aggressive with everything we're doing.
Elena on bars, was that just
She showed signs of that a little bit during the week, and she had kind of tweaked her shoulder a little bit. She hadn't done that, but I just think she got a little ahead of herself, and on that particular release, she needs to let it rise before she opens up to find the low bar, and she came right off the bar with her head looking for the low bar, and it kind of shot her out too far. I don't anticipate it being a kind of a long-term. Yeah, I think she's fine to go. Yeah, the shoulder seems to be improving. She did that. She kind of tweaked it in conditioning on Thursday, and just in time for the competition. And just picking up a dumbbell to put it away or something, and felt something in her shoulder. Like it's a 20-pound dumbbell that not much to it, but it got her. Nothing that we can tell is really structurally wrong. I think she just kind of strained it a little bit.
Are you kind of figuring out your pieces now? Do you feel?
There's not much to figure out. I mean, we are what we are. We have what we have. Liv's released full go on bars now, so that may change things in the coming weeks. It may not. I don't know. It just depends on how everybody's doing. That'll give us a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of flexibility if we need it. For sure. Bryce is full go, but as I mentioned maybe last time we spoke, we're kind of bringing her along a little slower. Confidence took a shot. You take a header on the beam, and it's easy for that to happen, particularly for a freshman. And so she's just kind of got to get settled back down, and so we're not going to push her to come back, but she can give us more. She can give us depth on vault, floor, and beam. So getting those two back will give us a little more flexibility, but until they're ready for sure to go, then we're kind of status quo. The lineups should remain the same. There's not a lot of movement that can occur there.
Talk about going on the road. It's one of those deals where if you're as good as they are, you're not going to get the scores.
No, as an old adage in college gymnastics, we've always kind of said if the road team can finish within 3/10, it's actually probably a win. And we've always kind of, amongst coaches, there's a lot of us, particularly in this conference, that have said that when, if all things are equal, it's, if both teams perform well and they're both pretty close teams, then if you're within 3/10 on the road, it's pretty close to a win. That was started by Suzanne Yocklin, actually, I believe. So
what does it take to win on the road, you think?
Really, there's so many variables that you can't control. The things we've got to perform. We've just got to perform. We got to perform at or near our best every week in this conference, and then everything else has to go your way that you can't control, whatever that is, environmentally or the other team's performance, or the judging being consistent. Those kinds of things, they have to go your way, and if they do, you can do well. Alabama beat Auburn at home this week. The statistics didn't say that would happen, but that home field thing is real in our sport, and you see it across the board. And with the exception of Florida and Oklahoma, nobody's really doing much outside of their own arena. There's a lot of parity, 1 through 15 to 17 right now. Good teams, lots of good teams right now, and everybody's capable of doing well, and most teams perform better in their own environment. So it's just kind of the way it goes.
Only won here by 1.5 tenths too, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma, we've been the closest to anybody. We were closer to Oklahoma than anybody, but they came in here and beat us by 1.5 tenths, and nobody else has been even remotely close to that. So we feel good about what we're doing. We just got to keep growing, keep getting better, keep growing in our confidence, and keep getting people more and more comfortable in their role. And that you can't manufacture experience without going through it. And some of them just got to keep getting the experience and be increasingly more comfortable in the role that they're playing. And as they do that, theoretically, you begin to see better and better and more consistent performances across the board.
Obviously, it seems like what Auburn's done is bringing in the Olympic gold medalist after she wins the Olympics is not what used to happen. Am I wrong in that? And you're hoping to be that program that maybe gets to do that one day.
Yeah, I think you're just
Has it
seeing.
changed?
Yeah, it's changing a little bit. I think NIL opens it up for the elites to not have to choose. They can do both. They can both make money and compete in college. And before, they had to really make a hard choice of, after an Olympic Games, do they do a tour and get paid, or do they go to college on scholarship? And now they can do both. So Suni was going to Auburn long before anybody had a whiff of whether she would be an Olympian, much less win the Olympic all-around. So many things happened that, made that happen. Her, Jeff Graba's brother is Suni's club coach, so that, that relationship had been there for a long time. Those things are going to happen, but certainly we're recruiting gymnasts at that level, and we're recruiting a lot of them at that level right now, and sometimes that's going to lead to deferments and things that you see go on with Florida, and some of the other programs that have recruited at that level for a long period of time, and we're going to see some of that too, the deferments and things of that nature.
Has Suni gotten better from a freshman year to a sophomore year?
She's so good. I don't know if she's gotten better. I think maybe she's gotten more comfortable with the differences of college gymnastics. It's just it's a different animal altogether, and the feeling that they have when it's a team-oriented thing, the different types of pressure that go with that. I think she's probably gotten better at managing that. You'd have to ask her, but my guess is that the natural progression of things is that she's just more comfortable in that environment now, and it's probably a little easier than it was as a freshman when you don't really know what you're getting into.
Would you explain the final rotation against Georgia, where you went to school?
Oh yeah, wow, yeah.
Courtney made 3 inquiries that were they actually ahead of you when Haley went on the floor?
Nah, I think it'd be easy to say that in retrospect, but at that time the inquiries weren't in.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't even know what the inquiries were based on. Maybe start value. I don't know.
Did they get 3 scores raised?
I don't know.
One for sure.
I don't know how many they got raised. I know there was, I think, 2 tenths that got added to their team total, but we were still almost a full point ahead of them after that. So I don't know. I guess if you're but it doesn't work that way. Like, the score was what the score was until the inquiry happened. So
I guess I was asking because it was
I guess.
strange situation.
If there were some I could have and maybe should have inquired on, and if I didn't feel like we were gonna, win the meet the way we did, maybe I would have. But there was some stuff worthy of inquiry for sure.
I guess what I'm saying was it seemed like Haley was doing an exhibition almost. I mean, she wants to get a great score on the floor. You want to finish strong, but
Oh, well, going in, I guess.
you had a 9.075.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if
you
you had a crystal ball and you knew that those inquiries were going to result in a raised score, then I guess after Chase fell, then right. I mean, I guess that probably puts them ahead of us if we were counting the fall. But I don't know if anybody in the room thought we were going to count a fall with Haley Bryant going. So
no.
So it was just not that it couldn't happen, but I don't know. I don't think in those terms. I guess it's easy to wonder about those things. I really didn't pay that much attention to it. All I knew was that their score had been raised at the conclusion of the meet.
And do they have to, when you see that, do they have to tell you?
They come over and tell me when I have to sign the official score sheet.
Yeah.
And they let me know then that there had been an inquiry that had raised their score. But I wouldn't have known the difference because at the end of the meet, I honestly don't. I knew we won. That's really all that mattered to me in the moment. I really wasn't paying attention to whether they had a 7.25 or a 9.25 or whatever it ended up.
So it was in your mind, it was a very different situation from like the Kentucky meet last year with the do-over.
Very different. Very different. Very different. Kentucky, that meet was nip and tuck the whole way. This meet felt like we were in control of it from the jump. I mean, even with the mistakes that we made, I really felt like our kids were in a good spot. And that meet last year, with Kentucky was right down to the end, and then of course the equipment failure thing put it over the top.
We were talking with KJ, and she said she feels like early in the season she wasn't herself. She had a lot of expectations for herself.
Yeah, I told you.
I was gonna
And
say,
she
you did
knows
tell
it.
us that.
Mhm.
And so have you kind of seen that change now in a different spirit?
Oh
from
yeah,
her?
yeah. I told her that in our meeting Sunday. I said in one of our things we do when we do our weekly kind of awards. She stood in front of the team, and that was one of the things that I said to her. Look, she was herself. She's the last 2 weeks really. She started to look like herself. There's more joy. She's a little more relaxed, and it's coming across in her performance. You saw that vault at Arkansas, and another one that was really close to that level here. You saw just increased week over week, better execution on floor. That was the best floor routine she's done to date. Some of that could be coming out of beam too, because getting comfortable on beam was something. So I think getting her back out, there's a good chance she may wind up back in the beam lineup. But I think I think it's possible that getting her back to being herself was getting back to that 2-event kind of thing where she's most comfortable. Her most natural events are the 2-leg events because she's just bam bam. I mean, she's unbridled power and when she can just put her foot on the gas and go, that's when she's at her best. If she has to over process things, that's what kind of creates those snakes in her head sometimes.
Chase or altering her pass at all?
No, because she's 100% on it in practice, and again, that's one of those growth things. You don't want to see a kid have to go through that, but we're confident that she can do it. We're confident she shows it to us all the time. She did it at Arkansas and got over the hump, and I wouldn't have predicted that it would have happened again, but it did. And she's done a great job of putting herself in a relevant place, being prepared. She shows it in practice, and that level of consistency that we see in there, at some point it carries over. But you got to go through, some kids got to go through growing pains, and it just, there's no exact formula A, B, C, and D on what that's going to look like, and you got to kind of pull them through the knothole, keep them reassured that you're okay. Don't start putting undue pressure on yourself, and that's really what we're trying to do. If we can keep other people's voices out of her head, that's the thing, is that I want her to hear what we think of her and what her teammates think, not everybody else.
Kai leading off on being a little bit of a struggle last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Anything you say there? Encouragement?
It's
Obviously,
been.
leadoff hitters go through slumps.
Yeah, they do, and she's, Kai's heart's in the right place, and we know what kind of competitor she is, and I've bragged on her mental fortitude for a long time, and she's not coming off. Like I said, it's not like she's fallen much. She did the one, I don't remember which meet it was, but I just think she's having a hard. I think she revisits the mistakes that she makes a little too much, instead of having a short memory. You hear that in sports all the time. You hear that about defensive backs or whatever. You got to have short memory. If you get burned, you got to let it go. And I think that's probably it with her, is that she wants it so bad. She wants to contribute and help her team so badly and loves her teammates so much. I just think she has a hard time, letting it roll off very quickly, and she kind of carries it around with her a little bit. And she's got to grow out of that. She's got to get better with it. That's part of being a competitor, and she knows it. But there's nothing about that kid I would ever question. It's just it's unfortunate that she's kind of going through that. But
You've said a lot of times that wins don't matter, and
well, they matter. No, and I don't say they don't matter. They just don't determine anything. We want to win. I have to say this all the time, because you get in trouble with people hear you say, well, I don't care if we win. That's not what I'm saying. I want to win every single time we go out there, as a coach, that if you're competitive at all, you want to win. But at the same time, when you're in a situation like we've been in this year, and with the things that we've endured to this point, you got to keep the main thing. And the main thing is your scoring average, and continuing to climb and continuing to put yourself in the most advantageous place you can from a seeding perspective late in the year. And that has nothing to do with wins and losses. So it's not that I don't care. I do want to win. I just want to make sure that they don't get so result oriented about the win that they lose sight of what's really important for the long-term success of this year's team.
so it's also hard to win on the road. But how would a road win this week kind of set them up mentally?
It'd be
especially for a
great.
team without the much experience, how does it build their confidence?
It'd be great. I mean, I think we have a list of things we want to accomplish, and certainly a win is on that list. But I wouldn't put it number one. There's so many things we want to see happen. We want to hit 24 routines, and cleanly, not just stay on. We want to hit 24 routines cleanly. That hasn't happened yet. We want to see our score continue to climb and put ourselves in a better place. We want to be able to look back at the conclusion of a meet and evaluate and go, we had a good day. We want it to be a confidence builder for them. And in the process of that, if we get the win, that's great. That's the icing on the cake. But it really has to be kept in its proper place for the sport of gymnastics. That's the thing. Because the stats say Auburn should win. The stats say what they say. The beauty of that is our attitude gets to be a little freer when we're in that mindset. I don't think it's a coincidence that we competed really strongly against Oklahoma when we were in that mindset. And then sometimes we have a tendency in the other, when the stats say we're supposed to win, kids get a little tighter. That's the opposite of what you want, but it's a personality thing we got to outgrow. I want us to attack this meet, and we're the hunter. We're not the hunted right now. We're the ones that should take the aggressive posture and just let it fly. Because on the one hand, we got everything to gain and nothing to lose, and just keep that mindset and keep pushing and growing in our confidence and getting better and better. Confidence is the key for this group. It's not about their skill. It's about their ability to be confident in the moment. And they want to be, man. You should hear them. You should hear the things they say to each other, and they want that. But that happens in its own time. There's not if there was a magic button I could push that said every kid in our beam lineup was going to be supremely confident no matter what the circumstance, boy, I'd be pushing it. I'd push it about every 15 seconds. Yeah.
How have you seen her grow into this new role she has?
Aaliyah?
For the last few
It's
weeks.
happening, right? I mean, you guys said that you heard me early in the year say, we got to leave her out there and let her go through this. And I think this was certainly the most complete meet she's put together. And that show, I don't know what her all-around score was, but it showed that she's in the same class with the Haley Bryants and the stars of our sport when it comes to being able to do all four events. It's a new thing for her, but I thought it was encouraging. I don't think we've arrived. I don't think she's, I think as her time goes over the next 2.5 years, she will continue to improve. So, you know, where the sky's the limit for Aaliyah Finnegan, because she has a performance, quality, and the difficulty. And that's the other thing. Like, I don't know that all the time we're being rewarded for the difficulty we do. You know, it's kind of a if difficulty is performed cleanly, like Aaliyah Finnegan does it, it should beat something performed cleanly that's not as difficult, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying you can't, you don't have to execute, but when you see a floor routine like Aaliyah Finnegan's with the double Arabian, that she's got radar on the landing and does a stag jump out of it and does a 2.5 punch front second, and then performs and dances and leaps the way that she does, it's exquisite. It should outscore the routine that does a double back and a 1.5 front layout and a 2-pass routine and is clean, but there's nothing not clean about what she's doing too. And I think sometimes the separation of those things is a bit of a problem in our sport right now. And we've made our rules such that sometimes really well done difficulty is not being rewarded at the level that it should be.
You got a tough couple of weeks coming up. Do you bring in pipe noise or anything?
Nah, they know. They know what it's about. They watch the meets on TV. They know about the gymnastics and the over there, and we relish that. Right? I mean, we love it here. Why wouldn't we love it somewhere else? I mean, what is? It's not like they're gonna throw beer cans at you. I don't think. I hope not. They're over there passionate about their team. So let's get in there with them. I'd much rather be in an environment with that kind of energy than be in some vapid, you know, place where there's no juice. It's fun to go to these places and to absorb all that, and that has to become part of what we embrace, because we're going to see it everywhere we go. You know, whether it's at Auburn or Alabama or Florida, or the whole conference is growing in terms of that environment. It's not just us and one other school anymore. It's getting to be everywhere, and it's fun. It's great for the sport. So you know, get on board or get off, but you gotta go in those environments and have fun.